Hello again. So today we finish up this week talking about how to go as Jesus went. The last half of the book of Ephesians, from chapter 4 to chapter 6, Paul divides that section of the book up by continuing to return to a common vocabulary. He uses the word walk. He starts off chapter 4, verse 1, "Therefore I, a prisoner for serving the Lord, beg you to lead a life worthy of your calling, for you've been called by God." The New Living Translation says lead a life. A very literal translation would be walk. Walk worthy of your calling. Paul returns to this word walk 7 or 8 times in the second half, and each time it starts a new section, some longer than others, some relatively short. But in each one, he's talking about the way we do the things that God has called us to do, the way we live the life that he's called us to live. But he chooses not to use the word live or even do. Now, the reason he does that, I think, is because the word live can be very static. A mushroom can live, but it doesn't do very much, does it? We walk. We don't just live the Christian life. We walk the Christian life. So the first thing Paul says is to walk worthy of your calling. And immediately he talks about unity. The first thing we are to do is to walk in unity with those who are around us. Then in verse 17, with the Lord's authority I say this, live no longer as the Gentiles do, for they're hopelessly confused. He says live, walk, literally, not like the Gentiles. We are to walk differently from the world around us. We should be known by the things that do separate us from the world around us. Now, I grew up in a time when it was very common that there were certain things that Christians didn't do. Christians didn't dance. Christians didn't have long hair. Christians didn't go to movies. That's not what Paul is talking about. He's talking about living a different life in our attitudes toward each other. Instead of being selfish and inward focused, be outward focused. That is what he is talking about here. When he describes the Gentiles, he talks about the way that they are focused on themselves. We are to walk differently. We're to be focused on others. We are to walk differently. Chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Imitate God, therefore, in everything you do, because you are his dear children. Live a life filled with love. Walk in love. Now, following up on saying, don't live like the Gentiles, don't be self-centered, he now says, walk in love. Love focuses on the other person. Walk focusing on those around you. He comes back just a few verses later, chapter 5 and verse 8. Once you were full of darkness, but now you have light from the Lord. Live as people of light. Walk in the light is literally what he says. Walk in the light. As we grow in Christ Jesus, as we learn from him, there will be new things that we realize we're supposed to be doing. Walk in the light as that light comes into our lives, into our hearts. Then finally in chapter 5, verse 15, he says, so be careful how you live. Don't live like fools. Live like those who are wise. Be careful how you walk. Don't walk like fools. Walk in wisdom. he's kind of repeating what he just said. As you are brought into wisdom, you'll discover new things that you need to be doing. Do those new things. The Lord will show you. Go as Jesus went. Walk a life of unity, focused on those around us, constantly learning, constantly developing in Him. Hey, we'll see you on Sunday. Just a reminder, Dave Ward will be with us. He'll be speaking in both the morning and the afternoon services. I look forward to seeing you on Sunday.